edition of the KUTV Prime Time News. I do hope you're having yourself a wonderful day on this 21st day of the month of August, the year being 2026, which also doubles up as National Sweet Tea Day. Are you having your sweet tea, particularly with the weather being as it is, particularly within the Kenyan capital, Nairobi? And just to note on the calendar, you have 132 days to the end of this year, 2026. What have you done? What do you want to do? What are you going to do? Well, that and more you can be able to share with me on our socials, but right now it's about that time to go into matters of news right here on KUTV. And before we dive in, let's begin it officially.
This is KUTV Primetime News with Emmanuel Kutosi.
Indeed, a warm welcome to the bulletin. With me in the sign language interpretation is Mutava Mwongeli. And of course, we extend the invite for you to join us on our social media handles at KUTV_Kenya on the X platform, KUTV Kenya across all other social media platforms. And you can reach out to me at _Emmanuel Kutosi. We kick it off on matters of education, where the government has renewed its commitment to making higher education more accessible and affordable to students across the country. Speaking during the 11th graduation ceremony at the University of Embu, Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Ogamba announced major changes to the higher education funding model, shifting the focus from assessing parents' financial ability to directly investing in students' future employment prospects. Our education reporter has more.
The government's goal, according to Education CS Julius Ogamba, is clear: open doors of opportunity equitably and ensure that no talent goes to waste for lack of means. Addressing graduates at the University of Embu, the CS announced a new framework, the Universal Student Funding Model, designed to make higher education a state-backed investment rather than a household burden.
We have presented to Parliament a bill on the funding of higher education. You are all aware that for a long time we've had challenges in how we fund our higher education. The first model that we had was a DUC model, where government was supposed to be funding education at 80%. But because of financial restrictions, it was only able to fund about 38%.
However, the path to this new model has been riddled with the challenges that have directly harmed students.
I am pleased to report that the university continues to experience steady growth in student enrollment, reflecting the confidence that students, parents, and stakeholders continue to place in our programs and the quality of education we offer. We note with satisfaction that next week we will receive close to 4,500 new students for the new academic year 2026-2027.
The previous student-centered funding model, SCFM of 2023, which relied on a means testing instrument, MTI, assessed students based on their parents' financial status, testing parents instead of students, and whenever the formula miscalculated a family's wealth, deserving learners were unfairly locked out of tertiary institutions.
The means testing instrument was testing parents instead of students. In other words, the question was asked, what is the capacity of this parent to support the funding of their children in university?
I welcome the conversation on looking at how we can have 100% transition to the universities. But we must have a conversation and ensure that we don't leave our kids that are, it's really hard to get a job in this country, with a huge debt that is actually going to start earning interest, and they may not be able to pay it in future.
At the same time, universities were left drowning in mounting debts due to the government's systematic failure to fulfill funding obligations under both models, leaving several institutions technically insolvent.
We've changed that thinking and said, let us fund the future of the student. In other words, we are now going to fund an engineer instead of the peasant farmer. And with that tweak, we are now able to get stakeholders and our partners who are crowding in and putting in resources enough to fund each and every student who is entering our tertiary institutions fully.
Under the proposed universal student funding model, the government is flipping the script entirely. Instead of scrutinizing household income, the state will invest directly in a student's professional capacity, transforming university education from an expense into a strategic investment in human capital. The CS assured that this new framework will be more responsive to the diverse circumstances of students joining both the universities and TVET institutions. Rajab Juma, KUTV.
Thank you, Rajab Juma, for that report. And on to regional strides. The push to build a stronger and more integrated East African economy is gaining fresh momentum. At a gathering of industry leaders and experts in Kampala, Uganda, the focus shifted from individual countries pursuing growth alone to a collective regional strategy. The message was clear. If East Africa is to overcome poverty and unlock its full economic potential, member states must work together to maximize the value of regional industries and strengthen cooperation across the bloc. Edna Nerea now reports.
The call for a unified industrial front dominated discussions at the third regional industrial conference in Kampala, Uganda. Delegates emphasized that the East African community, with a population exceeding 300 million, possesses the raw materials and workforce necessary for significant growth. However, the consensus was clear that potential remains untapped. While speaking at the event, Kenya's High Commissioner to Uganda, Ambassador Babu Namwamba, urged member states to move beyond rhetoric.
Prosperity is only prosperity when shared. There can be no prosperity when you're ring-fencing your prosperity, if you're the only lord in the village or your only country within the 8-member bloc of the EAC that imagines you're prospering ahead and away from everybody else. That is not prosperity. It can only be prosperity if it is shared. And so we must stop sharing poverty and start sharing prosperity.
He noted that with a significant portion of the region's population living below the poverty line, the time for active regional coordination is now.
We must move from motion to action. I think it was Ernest Hemingway who famously said, never mistake motion for action. We are in perpetual motion, but are we really acting? How effectively are we acting to ensure that the EAC works for all of us? The African Continental Free Trade Agreement, we've been talking about it for years now. How are we making it effective?
The conference notably downplayed the idea of internal competition. Instead, the focus is on a coordinated motion to wrestle out bottlenecks that plagues cross-border trade.
By unlocking any of these constraints around each of the nodes in the ecosystem, the chances are that we will effectively streamline the supply chain. So regional value chains involve production, processing, and distribution of goods and services across sectors.
The sentiment among the 8 member states aligned on the idea that progress should be measured not by racing against each other, but with moving together to leave poverty behind through a collective economic approach.
So the petrochemical industry remains fundamental for refining. And in the case of Uganda, for our oil refinery, we have coupled it with an industrial park, the Kabalega Industrial Park that the Uganda National Oil Company is developing. And the aim is largely to have the derivatives of the byproducts.
However, political tremors and persistent tariff barriers remain major issues stifling the community's growth.
We've moved away from multilateralism to bilateralism. We all heard about the Trump tariffs and how much disruption it did to trade globally. And that's when I realized that, you know what, globalization has peaked, and the next mantra is going to be regionalization. And that's why I'm very happy to be here today, because this entire conference.
Furthermore, the protracted conversation regarding the introduction of a single regional currency continues to be a key item on the agenda as central banks across the region work towards a more unified monetary policy. Edna Nera, KUTV, Nairobi.
And back to local politics, where as the country gears up for the 2027 general election, political tension is already extending beyond the next electoral cycle. Women aspiring to contest for political positions in the Mount Kenya region are calling for a safe and level playing field ahead of the 2027 general election. Speaking in Kirinyaga, Social Justice League Deputy Chairperson Judith Juma condemned political violence, the use of guns, groups, threats, and the high cost of party nominations, which she said continue to hinder women's participation in politics. The women are calling for fair and transparent nominations, affordable party fees, equal political opportunities, and greater protection against harassment, while urging women to unite and reject violence.
It is important for us to emphasize that women in politics are the ones who are most affected with the culture of goonism that we are seeing has grown and is cropping up in counties like Homa Bay, where SJL has also tried to do another training. We are calling upon all stakeholders, those who are involved in matter security in this country, please be assure women that they are going to be facing an environment that is free from violence.
Na niambie tu serikali, wale akina mama wako kwa uongozi saa hii na wenye wamekomaa kwa hiyo uongozi, tafadhali wacheni kukua ati nyinyi ndio mna insight watu kupigana kwa mikutano ya kisiasa. Kwa hivyo you protect us women, please.
Indeed, matters of concern there, with the 2/3 gender rule yet to be satisfied within Kenya's governance. Now, the United Democratic Alliance Party is stepping up its grassroots mobilization ahead of the 2027 general election, strengthening its political machinery across the country. The party has sworn in 15,000 officials in Tharaka Nithi County as it seeks to build stronger grassroots networks ahead of the polls. UDA says the officials will play a critical role in reaching voters, highlighting the government's achievements and defending its record as the political contest gathers momentum.
The UDA party has commissioned 15,000 grassroots officials in Tharaka Nithi County in a major push to strengthen its grassroots structures, expand support base, and enhance mobilization across the country ahead of the 2027 general election. Kindiki has continued to defend President William Ruto's administration, saying the Kenya Kwanza government has delivered significant development and transformation across key sectors, while highlighting initiatives aimed at improving services and livelihoods for Kenyans. According to Kindiki, UDA has expanded its grassroots networks with several parties joining the coalition, which will be critical in sustaining the party's support, communicating its agenda and spearhead mobilization of voters ahead of the general election.
UDA is the only party that has grassroots structures democratically elected by other members across Kenya. And we said we'll continue with that election to the other remaining levels ward level mpaka tufike national level with a National Delegates Congress, ili tuhakikishe kwamba wale wote ambao wanaendelea kutuongoza mandate yao imetoka kwa wanachama.
The commissioning comes as political parties intensify their grassroots activities across the country, with 2027 polls increasingly shaping political engagements. Kindiki cautioned Kenyans against leaders without a clear agenda, saying Kenyans should not be misled by empty rhetoric.
Mtu amefanya mashortcut hapa nini akaenda kapata kazi kubwa ikapotea, kwa sababu hajui kuchunga kazi. Hajui, unapewa kazi kubwa alafu unafukuzwa kama mjinga. Mtu asikuje hapa kuwadanganya na maneno matupu, kwa sababu nimesema vyama ni vingi.
As the country ages closer to the 2027 general election, UDA is banking on its grassroots networks to sell the government's record, counter political criticism, and strengthen its support base ahead of the polls. Jacinta Haweri, KUTV.
Now, while the political battle for 2027 is taking shape, the race for what comes after is already beginning to emerge. Leaders from the Western Kenya are positioning National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula as a potential successor to President William Ruto in 2032. Speaking in Likuyani, President Ruto's aide Farouk Kibet cited Wetangula's experience, leadership skills, and statesmanship as key credentials for the presidency. Wetangula, however, remained focused on securing Ruto a second term in 2027 as he called for national unity and peaceful elections.
Ule mkabila ambaye alifukuzwa bunge ni mbaya ama si mbaya? Ninyi mnataka ukabila ama mnataka muwe wa Kenya? Penda mheshimiwa Wetangula. Hebu nione kwa mkono kama mnapenda Wetangula. Wetangula aendelee asiendelee? Mimi nawaambia jamii ya Mlembe, jamii ya Magharibi, jamii ya Mkenya mwenye yuko hapa, baada utawala ya William Ruto, mimi maombi naomba Mungu na natoa kofia ije hapa Magharibi Kenya.
Tutam. Hiyo pia ni salamu yetu ya Ford Kenya.
Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has taken his political tour to Emurua constituency in Narok County, where he paid tribute to the late former area MP Johanna Ngeno. The visit fulfilled a promise Gachagua had made after the elections, the by-election that is, but also provided an opportunity to sharply criticize the Kenya Kwanza administration. Gachagua accused the government of neglecting the bereaved family and failing to honor commitments made during the funeral arrangements.
Flared in Narok today as opposition leader Rigathi Gachagua bypassed security blockades to reach the late Johanna Ngeno's homestead, honoring a post-by-election vow as he continues his political tour of Emurua Dakiri, a constituency where also DCP is seeking to consolidate its support.
Ninyi muliua Johanna Ngeno atimukue kingpin ya college. Hakuna kingpin, mutaenda jela. Mutaenda jela. Mutakuwa jela. Mukifikiria ati utamwaga damu ya mwanaume mwingine ndio uchukue uongozi. It is very immoral to kill another human being so that you can take leadership. Ukitaka uongozi utafuta umaarufu kwa watu. Kuja ongea na yule Kipsigis, ongea na Wanande, ongea na wengine. Sasa kwa nini uondoe mwingine kwa sababu ya uongozi?
Ngeno died in a helicopter crash in Nandi County in February, prompting Gachagua to call for investigation on it. His death triggered a by-election which later saw UDA retain the seat after defeating Gachagua's DCP candidate.
Tunataka uchunguzi na hatutaki ufanywe na DCI Kenya huyu Mohamed Amin, kwa sababu kazi yake ni cover up. Pia hatuwezi amini Kipchumba Murkomen. Hatuwezi muamini kwa sababu alikuwa anashindana na Johanna Ngeno uongozi wa college. Mambo ya kingpin, si ndio? Kwa sababu huyu Johanna Ngeno alikuwa amepata umaarufu, sio kuwa kiongozi peke yake wa Kipsigis, lakini wa jamii ya college.
Gachagua's return has however not been without political tension. Some local leaders had warned against his planned political activities in the area, raising concerns over his presence and the message behind his visit. However, the Emurua Dakiri tour has been framed as both a Thanksgiving visit and an opportunity for political mobilization ahead of the 2027 general election. Gachagua also accused the Ruto administration of failing to support the Ngeno family and honor commitments made following the MP's death.
Tena nikuambie Rais William Ruto na watu yako, mlikosea hii familia. Mlikuja hapa mkaahidi mambo mingi, hamuzayasa rudi hapa. Saa ile mmesikia Rigiji amefika ndio mnakimbia hapa. Sasa vile nitaondoka mtawachana na hiyo familia. Lakini naambia mama na familia msikuwe na wasiwasi. Rigiji yako tuko na marafiki. Kaburi ya Johana Ngeno pahali amezikwa. Watamjengea nyumba nzuri hapo ya kivuli. Ndio marehemu asinyeshewe.
As Gachagua pays tribute to his late ally Johana Ngeno, his return to Emurua Dakiri also signals a broader political push, with the DCP seeking to regain ground after losing the by-election to UDA and consolidate its support in the region ahead of 2027. Petra Faith, KUTV.
Thank you, Petra Faith, for that report. That brings us to our fast break within the KUTV Friday edition of the Primetime News. I do hope you're having a well-updated session. In a moment, we'll be coming back with more, so don't go too far.
Ni mwalimu wa walimu na wengi wanamjua kwa ajili ya uandishi wa tamthilia ya Kigogo, ila ameandika zaidi ya vitabu 100 vilivyo sokoni.
Nilipopata nakala nilijisikia vizuri sana, yaani unasikia vizuri sana na nikapata mshawasha wa kuandika zaidi na tangu hapo sijaangalia nyuma. Yaani unakipata unataka kukaa nacho, kulala nacho, kuketi nacho, yaani hutaki kukiachilia, ni kama kitoto.
Wiki hii mjue Bi Pauline Kea kwa undani, tukigusia safari yake ya uandishi katika kipindi cha Mwanamke Mwake Mwake, ukiwa nami Caroline Kimwele.
Nani anaweza kuyatunza mazingira? Nani anaweza kuyatunza mazingira?
We talk about the earth, but how well do we really know it? It's a whole planet. We'll explain it.
It's right to say that a proper environment means even better products.
Absolutely. On Earth Check, we move on various topics that touch on this mother planet.
I really enjoy doing these activities with my peers and my organization.
Beekeeping is not just about the bees, it's about our environment and the future of our lives.
It is an open secret that if you don't take care of the environment, then the environment will take care of you.
Judge of the Environment and Land Court.
Looking on various stories and topical issues that affect us, that affect our dear planet. True care begins with understanding.
Na tumepitisha sheria mpya kupitia ile Environmental Management Act. Sasa kwamba wakati unapewa leseni lazima utoe ile inaitwa bond, environmental bond.
My name is Emmanuel Kutosi, and join me every Wednesday for Earth Check, where I'll be sure to keep you updated.
Welcome to the second part of the KUTV Friday night prime time news, where we take it off from the western part of the country, particularly in Kakamega, where a somber mood engulfed Malinya in Kakamega County as family, friends, political leaders and residents gathered to bid farewell to Gloria Sekayan Halwale, wife of Kakamega Senator Boni Halwale. Gloria died suddenly on the 15th of August after suffering a heart attack, leaving behind 8 children. Her death has brought together mourners from across the political and social divide to remember a woman whose passing has left a deep void in her family and community.
Family, friends and political leaders have gathered in Malinya, Kakamega County to mourn the wife of Senator Boni Halwale. The funeral took a different turn as political undertones emerged, with politicians condemning attacks that occurred during the Linda Mwananchi movement tour of Homa Bay County.
Some guy in the compound
Expressing his disappointment with the UDA government, DAP Kenya Party leader Eugene Wamalwa called on President Ruto to stop the bloodshed and resign.
Watu waliwawa. Tukienda kule Embu, watu waliwawa. How much blood do you want to shed, Bwana Ruto, for it to be enough for you? Haya ndio tuko tunasema, enough is enough. You've shed enough blood and you must go home. One, Goonism has no place in contemporary Kenya. What we witnessed in Homa Bay last Sunday, I want to make it very clear. That is not the position of the Luo community. That is not the position of the ODM party. This ODM party, Sifuna has been its Secretary General for the last 8 or 9 years.
The attacks witnessed during the Linda Mwananchi movement campaign in Homa Bay County were condemned, with the government being blamed.
Nataka niwaulize nyinyi watu wa hapa, na nataka tuungane na nyinyi. Mimi nataka niwaulize, mnataka tuongee story ya kutoa William Ruto hii, ama mnataka tena tuanze kuleta mchanganyiko? Tunataka tuongee story moja, si ndio?
Bwana, mimi nataka kuambia, nimekuwa katibu mkuu wa chama cha ODM miaka 9. Tumekuwa na Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga. Wale wanakumbuka mwaka wa 2023 tulikuwa tunafanya maandamano pale Nairobi kwa sababu ya kuzungumzia mambo ya gharama ya maisha na mambo mengine ambayo William Ruto alikuwa amesahau ahadi zake kwa wananchi.
Acknowledging Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna as Kenya's 6th president, leaders from the Western region pledged to pursue peaceful politics, urging Kakamega residents to follow the Olkalau way ahead of tomorrow's UDA visit.
Sisi watu wa Kakamega ni watu ambao tunapenda amani. Sisi hatupendi vurugu. We do mature politics. Najua kesho mnakuja kufanya empowerment ya bandia, ati mnafanya empowerment ya tuktuk. Nataka kuongea na ndugu zangu wale ambao wanafanya biashara ya tuktuk.
As Gloria Halwale is laid to rest, family members turn to honoring her memory, while political leaders continue rallying the Mulembe community ahead of the 2027 general election. Vivian Anyango, KUTV.
Thank you, Vivian, for that report. And still on matters of a political nature, as journalists increasingly consider making the transition from the newsroom to the political arena, the Media Council of Kenya is seeking to establish clearer ethical guidelines. The council has released a draft guide for journalists aspiring to elective political positions aimed at promoting transparency and professional integrity. MCK is now inviting members of the public to submit their views and recommendations as it works to strengthen the document. Submissions are expected before the 3rd of September 2026 through email. We turn to matters of health, where a prolonged health workers' strike in Embu County has entered its 26th day, deepening concerns of access to essential public health services. In Kiriari, Embu North, elderly residents are now calling for urgent intervention, warning that patients continue to suffer as the dispute drags on. They are urging both the county and national governments to move swiftly to resolve the standoff and restore services to members of the public within public hospitals.
Embu Governor Cecily Mbarire has urged to address the dispute with health workers in the county and restore health services. Embu elders led by Joseph Wega have further called on President William Ruto to intervene, saying recurrent strikes are caused by unfulfilled government commitments. He called on the government to honor the agreements reached with health workers, saying implementing the commitments would help restore calm.
Madaktari wetu wanazuilia wagonjwa wale wanakufa, na kwa hivyo sasa wamegoma sababu vile walioagana wapewe mishahara yao wanjapata pesa hadi hapa tulipo. Na kwa hivyo naomba serikali yetu tafadhali watu wa madaktari walipwe mshahara kulingana na vile walivyo agana.
They also said Embu County is facing numerous challenges, with residents being forced to rely on Harambee contributions to raise funds to support their families.
Kwamba katika hii county yetu ya Embu iko na matata mengi sana. Kwamba katika hii county yetu ya Embu iko na matata mengi sana. Kwa sababu madaktari wamegoma. Na ndio watu wanafanya harambee ili watafute pesa ya kutengeneza mtu wao. Wengine wakatolewa katika level 5 wakapelekwa kwa private hospitals.
The elders noted that the governor has remained silent throughout the doctors' strike, urging her to engage with health workers and take decisive action to resolve the dispute.
It's very bad. Ni baya zaidi. Uwe na miradi, hata ukifanya miradi ya aina gani, usimu wa watu, wakiwa watu wanakufa ovyo ovyo, haya wengine yote ni kazi bure. Sio mambo ya kujenga soko, mambo ya parapara, mambo yale wengine, maendeleo yale wengine, ni sawa, yote tunataka. Lakini kitu ambaye nakwambia ni hiki, waza kuachilia watu wakufe ovyo ovyo. Daktari, kama mliongea kuna mkataba.
They also warned the governor against prioritizing major projects while residents at Embu are losing their lives.
Tukianzwa serikali yetu ya kaunti ya Embu, gavana wetu Madam Cecily Mutito Balile. Juu wewe ni kiongozi hata wa UDA, pia wewe ndiye mkubwa wa hii serikali yetu kwa hii sama. Naomba kwa tafadhali ukiongea kuhusu Kenya mzima, kumbuka kaunti yako ya Embu tuko na sinda ya madaktari. Madaktari wetu wamegoma juu kuna maneno mliongea kuhusu pesa. Naomba tu kwa unyenyekevu uwakumbuke venye mliongea juu.
The elders appealed to the government to remember the doctors who are on strike and urged the governor to stand by her words and honor the commitments she made.
Thank you, Shed Modeo, for that report. And now to matters from disturbing the peace to distributing the peace, where as insecurity continues to unsettle parts of the northern Kenya, a group of young pastoralist musicians is turning to music as a tool for peace. The Morans have launched a campaign across Isiolo and Laikipia using traditional performances and local dialects to speak out against livestock theft and promote peaceful coexistence. Their message comes as communities in Meru, Isiolo and Samburu counties and Laikipia prepare for the upcoming election, with the group seeking to strengthen harmony and discourage conflict.
The Leparua buffer zone connect Burat ward to grazing lands in Laikipia Samburu routes, where criminals used to move stolen cattle. A troop of Morans say they once knew crime. Now they choose arts, peace and reconciliation.
Kwa sasa serikali imeweka mikakati ambayo inaweza ikichukuliwa kwa ile ikichukuliwa vyema itasaidia sana hii jamii sana hii ya Leparua.
Deputy County Commissioner Bernard Okwiri said they have experienced both peace and conflict and that the situation has reduced recently.
Kwanza kabisa kuna kile kichinjio pale ile ya Isiolo. Kichinjio imekamilika, imejengwa na national government, na hiyo itafungua njia ya mifugo yetu kama jamii ya Leparua kupata soko na kupata kuchukuliwa na kuuzwa katika soko la kimataifa.
He added that it is commendable when youths come together to promote peace because youth involvement is often linked to war rather than peace.
Saa moja anasikia tu watu naama, lakini sasa saa hii sisi nasema asante serikali na asante watoto wetu.
Lekuruki residents thank the youth for encouraging peace through their creativity and ask the government to support them, saying it has brought calm and reduced restless nights.
Tunasema asante kwa amani na tunashukuru wasanii wetu kwa kuleta amani na asanteni sana. Lekuruki nimetoka na Dungoro, amani ilikuwa si poa lakini tumepata security. Tuko na kambi mbili lakini sasa tuko sawa. Tunashukuru.
On behalf of the Moran youths, Joseph Gilisho said despite the challenges they face, they refuse to give up and continue to support their talents and creativity.
Today we represent youth of Northern Kenya, the pastoralist community, because for a very long time we have been crying because of cattle rustling, and we are standing in front line to tell our people to stop this act of raiding, to stop this act of, killing innocent people.
Musicians say that the event brought musicians from different communities to promote peace and that music talent can help communities restore peace.
Thank you, Petra Faith, for that report produced by our very own Cheryl Awar. Now, with focus pointing towards the possibility of heavy rainfall in the coming months, residents living in the flood-prone areas of Kilifi and Migori counties are being urged to prepare early. Authorities are warning communities about the expected El Niño rains and potential risk that come with them. Residents are being encouraged to take precautionary measures in advance and preparations intensify to minimize the impact of flooding and protect lives and property.
Authorities have advised residents living around flood-prone areas to take precaution, claiming heavy El Niño rains in the upcoming months. Kilifi Governor Gideon Mung'aro urged families living in such areas to start vacating early, stating that Kilifi is among 16 counties that have been identified by the Weather Department as at risk, with heavy rains expected in October.
Hii mwaka kuanzia mwezi wa 10 mwanzo kutakuwa na kaunti 16 zitadhurika na mafuriko ya El Niño. Kutakuwa na mvua nyingi sana.
He also stated that the measures are mainly targeting communities along River Sabaki, which have previously suffered deadly flash floods. This is due to previous floods in 2018, where thousands of people were displaced, forcing the Kenya Defense Forces to intervene.
Tumeshapanga na watu wa Red Cross, kuna kule tutaweka maboti ambayo atakuwa standby ya kusaidia watu, ili tusipate maafa na kwamba hatukuambia. Tunajipanga kama county, mambo ya majanga, mambo hiyo mnaongea chakula, tunajipanga pia. Ndio kama mvua ni nyingi sana, pia raia wastatizike kwa mtu afe na njaa kwa sababu hawakuangaliwa.
Meanwhile, in Migori, Nyatike residents are also calling for early intervention, foreseeing the recurrent floods that have destroyed property and livelihoods. During a forum at Kimai village in Malkader, Kanyarwanda. The residents want the county to utilize its allocation of 44.2 million shillings emergency preparedness budget effectively, while urging the national government to continue constructing dikes along the lower Kuja irrigation scheme.
Going on in Nyatike, the lower Kuja, that one will help us mitigate the problem of floods that keeps on sweeping our crops and brings damage to our farmers.
With flood-prone communities still recovering from past disasters, authorities are now under pressure to ensure early preparations are completed before the heavy rains begin. Shed Mudeu, KUTV.
And still within the coastal region, police in Mombasa County have launched investigations into the shooting of 3 youth during a public sensitization meeting addressed by Mombasa Governor Abdul Samad Nasir at Bomo Stadium in Changamwe. County Police Commander Stella Gerono said the meeting turned chaotic after youth reportedly chanted anti-government slogans, leading to clashes that left 3 people shot, several injured, and 3 vehicles damaged. However, eyewitnesses disputed the police account, alleging security officers used excessive force against peaceful youths. Police have promised to identify and prosecute those responsible.
Most of them are police officers. They should follow the law and ensure that they do the right thing. We should avoid violence and ensure that we lead the public to ensure that there is peace. Yeah.
Vijana kwa kuongea na mheshimiwa gavana walipokuwa wanamfikia wale mabodyguard wakawa wanawasukuma hawa, na walikuwa wametulia vizuri. Hata kuna mwenzangu hapa huyu ilikuwa kabisa yuko mbele. Alipokuwa yuko mbele akawa atakuongea na yule bodyguard akawa msukuma akatoa bunduki. Mimi ndo nimeona nikamzuia akamwambia achana naye.
Of course, we end it with a crescendo as we move within the sporting arena, where the CECAFA Women's Champions League qualifiers kick off today in Kigali, Rwanda, with three-time FKF Women's Premier League champions Kenya Police Bullets aiming to make history. The team is targeting its first ever appearance at the 2026 CAF Women's Championship under coach David Bujengo. Police Bullets arrived in Rwanda on Thursday with a strengthened squad following the signing of new players. The Kenya side is in Group C, alongside Tanzania's Simba Queens and Burundi's Top Girls Academy, and will open its campaign against Simba Queens this Monday. And the wait is over. The English Premier League is back, with the 2026-2027 season promising intense competition, major signings, and another fierce battle for the title. Defending champions Arsenal begin their campaign at home against newly promoted Coventry City, while Saturday brings Manchester United against Hull City and a blockbuster clash between Liverpool and Newcastle United. Manchester City face Bournemouth, while Chelsea travel to Craven Cottage for London derby against Fulham. With a new manager, new signings, and ambitious promoted sides, the opening fixtures could offer an early glimpse of another thrilling Premier League season that maybe Arsenal will lose. Right, on the 21st day of August 2026 at 21:47, that is at least 13 minutes to the top of the hour. It's the moment we wrap it up for the Friday edition of the KUTV Prime Time News. Of course, I do thank you for choosing KUTV to be your informer tonight, and also comments to the other team on the other side, ensuring this broadcast is coming to you in a clean way, in a balanced way. Thank you, team, and bravo. Of course, also an extended thank you to the news team, led by my producer, Emmanuel, who are able to configure this bulletin in a way that will come to you in a special way. Of course, we invite your sentiments and comments on our social media handles at KUTV_Kenya on the X platform and KUTV Kenya across all other social media platforms. Of course, we look within the next 12 or so minutes as we see what the so-called champions are going to give us as we begin the EPL. And of course, for that and more, you can be able to meet up with Peter Pinches and Evan Sauma tomorrow as they break it down and tell us about the new signings, what to expect as we move into another football session, and also sporting activities that are sure to intrigue you on the sport. From me, Emmanuel Kutosi, and Mutava Mwangeli on the sign language interpretation, it's a big thank you for choosing KUTV to be informed tonight. Good night, sweet dreams, be smart all the time.
Every day we find new ways to thrive in an ever-evolving world.
I wouldn't call them challenges, but that's just how the industry is.
On KUTV, Technovation show trust us to keep you informed on matters startups to look forward to.
Gaming globally is the largest entertainment medium.
Kenyan businesses are speaking to finance from people who do not understand Kenyan business. And that has meant a lot of really good businesses have not been funded.
We have it all. Tune in every Monday 8:30 p.m. for this and more with me, your host Yvonne Kemuma.